I'm Cole, and for our human geography assignment, we had to pick a border or a boundary site to observe and take field notes at. So first I'm going to explain to you the difference between a border and a boundary. A boundary is a non-porous zone. There are a lot of aggression sometimes at these zones. It could be a cultural area. Normally there's police enforcement at these areas. And as I said, there is no interaction between either side of the boundary. Now, a border is much different as we know from the US-Mexico border that most of us are familiar with. It is a semi-porous site where there's interaction between both sides. For example, Americans going over to Mexico and the Mexicans immigrating into the US. So these sites are areas where there is some social and cultural interaction. And it can also be an area where there's a physical border. So for our project, we decided to do a border. Here is a little sketch because you're not allowed to take photos in the art pack at The Ohio State University. There was treadmills on one side with a border that is actually a physical barrier and also a social and cultural barrier. And then on this side, there's the weight room. Hi, I'm Cole, here with Austin, and he was one of my co-partners for this project, and he went to the border and took some notes, so I'm going to ask him about the site. So what did you see while you were there?
So when I went there, I went in and I also had some bias coming in because having working out before, I typically know that in the weight room you generally see more males in there than females, and then in the treadmill area you typically see more females working out there more than men. So going in there right away, I saw exactly what I expected. There was more males in there, and everyone had like the intense faces, obviously working out, trying to build up their muscles and whatnot, and kind of shifting that and going to the treadmill site and more of the cardio stations, you see more people kind of looking more winded, not as intense of an exercise. And one thing I saw that was between both of them is everyone pretty much had headphones in to kind of keep them in their own element. I know personally when I go to work out, I like to have headphones in because it kind of gets me in the zone and really focus on what I'm trying to do. So that's one thing that I saw right when I went in. It's just pretty much what I was expecting right away.
And I know that I personally have a bias when I go in there because being a female, I would prefer to be on the treadmills versus if I go in the weight room, I'm surrounded by a bunch of men normally, and I feel more, I guess, out of place, and kind of I feel like, I don't want to say scrutinized, but I feel that if everybody's looking at me, even if that's not the case, just being underrepresented in that area. But anyways, moving on, why would you consider this a border?
I would say this is a border is because there's a sense of, there's a social separation between each of the sites. The weight room, you have more of an intense exercise, whereas the treadmill area, it's more of an endurance. Yeah. There's also a sense of free-flowing between the people. You have people that work out in the weight room, and then they'll go to the treadmills afterwards. And there's no sense of really hostility there, so that's why I would classify it more as a border than a boundary.
Alright, cool. And I have one more question for you. So, when going into the weight room, did you have any bias towards anything, or do you think there's anything that maybe you caught on to that I wouldn't have caught on to, or any personal background?
Not really. I mean, other than having the bias of having working out there before and knowing that I typically see more males in there than females, there's not really anything else I had a bias towards. I just kind of went in there with just like open observation and just to see what was happening there that day.
Alright, cool. Well, thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Hi, now I'm here with Diego, who was our other co-partner for this project, and I'm going to ask him some of the same questions that I asked Austin. So, Diego, what did you see at the site?
So when I first went there, I basically saw, like, when I walked into the weight room, exactly, as I was expecting, a lot more males. When I walked in there, it was basically the ratio from the first time that I went, there was 6 males for every 1 female.
Okay.
Yeah, at least in the weight room. And the second time I went, it wasn't such a drastic difference, but at the same time, like, it was very interesting to see how there was such a drastic difference versus when you walk into, where the treadmills are and everything. There's basically both times that I went, there was almost a 1-to-1 ratio between, females and males, and and you know, that's what I saw, and I wasn't necessarily surprised by it because I've done running before and done running. Even though I haven't worked out, like it's usually next to you know where you lift weights and all, and it's what I've seen before here and you know just in general.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I thought when I was going to go lift the treadmills, it was going to be mainly females, but prior to what I was thinking, or I'm sorry, not prior, but different from what I was thinking, it was actually pretty even with the 1-to-1 ratio. But I can't believe, you know, a 6-to-1 ratio that you actually got one time. My numbers were pretty close to that, but that's pretty drastic when you think about it for a weight room. So yeah, I'd say that was a pretty interesting find. So why did you think the site was a border? Or why would you classify this as a border compared to a boundary?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a huge, like when you walk, huge difference, at least in the environmental sense of it. When you walk into the weight room versus when you walk into the, like, where the treadmills are. Walk into the weight room, you see, like, there's just intensity. Like, yes, that's how I can describe the weight room is intensity. Like, people there, there's either you're relaxing or you're going, like, full strength at everything you're doing. And it's just very interesting to see that versus, you know, when you walk into where the treadmills are, you see people more, they're running and all, they look more relaxed, and you don't see the people struggling as much to achieve what they're doing, what they're trying to do at least. So when you walk from one place to the other, it's kind of like, besides the fact that there's actually like a physical territorial boundary there, you know, you walk from one place to the other and you're like, well, like it's not kind of like a boundary where versus when you're walking through a boundary, it's, you know, like people are going to deny you from walking in versus this border, you know, you're walking in and people are not going to deny you. It's just moving from one place to another, just like crossing from Mexico to the U.S., U.S. to Mexico.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, there's nobody going to be like, stop, you can't come here,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
if it was a boundary site. All right, so lastly, do you think that do you think you're biased towards anything you witnessed, or did you have any bias going into the gym with what you thought you would see?
Not really, so maybe just a little bit. So I play a lot of soccer, and I do, I'm Hispanic, so usually when I see people in the gym, you know, at least when I'm walking through there, I don't see that many Hispanics, but when I'm playing soccer, I see how that's how people, at least of my ethnicity, like to work out. We like to play soccer, and you know, we go and play in the turf or just whatever. That's what we do. But like when I walked in there, I figured, you know, it'd be mostly like Caucasian people, and I was exactly like right. It's just, I guess, you know, different people like to work out in different places and whatever. And this is just what I thought would happen. That was it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that there was way more Caucasians than anybody else. I think a part of that might be the demographics of Ohio State, just, you know, the raw number of Caucasians to other races. But I would say I saw almost every race represented in the gym. I would agree with you about seeing a lower amount of Hispanics, but every other type of, you know, gender, race, ethnicity, I'd say we're represented well in the gym.
Most definitely.
So. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. So that will conclude our project on borders and boundaries. We hope you learned a lot about what a border is, what a boundary is, and how to classify those sites. And thanks for your time.
Thanks.
I would say it's a border because there's just that social separation between it, and it's not very hostile between it. People fuck. Son of a bitch. Just a sense of free-flowing there all the time, and there's not really a sense of, why do you gotta smile? I had it! I was good! Oh my goodness.
One more time! If it doesn't work this time, you're not even saying it.